Now, stuff that you need to hear about. It is a segment we like to call Pothead Punditry, where the silliness ends and the serious issues of the day come to the forefront.
Our nation stands on the brink. Every day brings new federal encroachments that take our freedoms and strangle our will. There comes a time when the silliness must take a back seat to the serious issues of the day. The time is now. It's time to fight back and reclaim the freedom that is rightfully ours. It is time to discuss the serious issues of the day with Stoner Jesus's Pothead Punditry.
Yes, and welcome everybody to Pothead Punditry. This is officially episode 5 of Pothead Punditry. The chat room, those of you for listening on later on the YouTube videos, Miguel wants to know about the bong giveaway. It's very good for you people here too. If you would like a bong, go to our Facebook page. Just search Stoner Jesus in Facebook. Share, and I'll pick a random sharer from a random post in the month of November, and you will win a 2-foot glass bong. It will be awesome. Anyway, as you heard, this is where the serious issues of the day come to the forefront. And for people who broadcast on the internet, there's nothing more serious than internet censorship. As you know, the internet is really the last place where we are free to say what we want, to a certain extent. You know, Facebook and Twitter and those kind of places have their own rules and whatnot. But still, the internet is the last bastion of free speech. There's checkpoints. There's the Occupy Wall Street protesters, and wherever they're occupying are getting shot in the face with rubber bullets, and flash grenades are being thrown in their face. It's, how can I put it? The establishment is panicked. You know, a bunch of hippies get together in a park, and the cops start freaking the fuck out and shooting them on video. They know YouTube exists. They know this shit's everywhere. And they know they look like Nazi fucking stormtroopers kicking Jewish people and herding them to the fucking concentration camps. Anyway, I've already digressed off my fucking topic. I'm talking about internet censorship. But it's all part of the same thing. They're going to look to censor the internet because they don't, and there's stories all over the internet about this. About the cops trying to get YouTube videos pulled, the government trying to get YouTube videos pulled, showing police brutality. And why it's so important, if they can beat the hell out of them, they can beat the hell out of anybody. That's why it's such a big deal that we can now kill U.S. citizens without a trial with Predator drones. And I'll talk about the fucking drones after the internet thing. The Department of Homeland Security is going to have the drones that they use in Afghanistan to tase people. They can tase people with an unmanned drone. Do you believe this shit is happening? If you don't, you better wake the fuck up. I'm sorry to be so blunt about it, but get your head out of your ass. Because this shit is here. Anyway, this story is from gigaom.com, gigaom.com, whatever that means. Looks like Congress has declared war on the internet. The story says, many internet users in the United States have watched with horror as countries like France and Britain have proposed or instituted so-called, quote-unquote, 3 strikes laws, which cut off internet access to those accused of repeated acts of copyright infringement. Now the U.S. has its own version of this kind of law, and it is arguably much worse. The Stop Online Piracy Act, introduced in the House this week, would give governments and private corporations unprecedented powers to remove websites from the internet on the flimsiest of grounds, and would force internet service providers to play the role of copyright police. Think about that. The government and private corporations. Who are the people that have their boots on our neck? That would be the government and the private corporations. The story continues. To recap a bit of history, the Stop Online Piracy Act, or SOPA, is the House version of a previous bill proposed by the Senate, which was known as the Protect IP Act, a name that was an abbreviation of Preventing Real Online Threats to Economic Creativity and Theft of Intellectual Property. That, in turn, was a rewritten version of a previous proposed bill that was introduced in the Senate last year. Not wanting to be outdone by their Senate colleagues when it comes to really long acronyms, the House version is also known as the E-Parasite Act, which is short for Enforcing and Protecting American Rights Against Sites Intent on Theft and Exploitation. And see, that's really the crux of the matter, isn't it? If I can pull out the story for here for a minute. It's all when they take your freedom, it's always couched in it's for your safety. We're just going after pirates. But think about it. I just played, going into this, Darth Step by MTPG, but that has obvious samples from the Imperial Death March or whatnot from Star Wars. That's a copyright violation. I'm off the air. Me reading this story right now off of gigam.com or gigaom.com, that's a copyright infringement. That gets me off the air. Anything. I play, let's say somebody sends me a totally original song, I play it, somebody doesn't like it. Maybe it's on YouTube too, and somewhere in the YouTube user rights, or it's on Facebook, it's posted on Facebook, it's now the intellectual property of Facebook. Facebook can get my shit shut off. It can be used by other companies and other websites like Facebook and Google. You don't think Google and Facebook are going to go after each other? And destroy each other? And destroy thousands of jobs in the process? All this shit is happening. Everybody in the chat room is talking about how they're pissed off about this. Lorraine Johnson, Christoph says that is insane. It is insane. The shit that happens, and it's with the internet, it's really, you just go to a few sites and you find it all. Anyway, the story continues. What it really is, however, is a disaster for the internet. As the Electronic Frontier Foundation notes in a post on the proposed legislation, the law would not only require ISPs to remove websites from the global network at the request of the government or the courts by blocking any request to the central domain name system that directs internet traffic, but would also be forced to monitor their users' behavior in order to police acts of copyright infringement. Providers who do not comply with these requests and requirements would be subject to sanctions, and in many cases legal hearings would not be required. As Senator Ron Wyden, a Democrat from Oregon, said of the Protect IP Act, quote, at the expense of legitimate commerce, PIPA's prescription takes an overreaching approach to policing the internet when a more balanced and targeted approach would be more effective. The collateral damage of this approach is speech, innovation, and the very integrity of the internet. And I was saying before, this has nothing to do with copyrights. This has to do with them shutting down people they don't like. Any fucking video site that uses a clip from the news, they're shut down. But they're only shut down if they're saying things that the corporations and their puppets in the government don't like. This is the shit that's going on in China. You hear about stuff in China, and we all laugh, and it's funny. The stupid Chinese, they're having their rights trampled on. But what about us? Aren't we having our rights trampled on? Aren't these people in our face and in our business? Aren't they shutting down medical marijuana in California? For what? Are we supposed to be worried about terrorists? No, we're worried about hippies, and we're worried about one person. If one person is not deathly ill and they smoke a joint, they need to be thrown in jail. Well, the problem is, first of all, we don't have the resources for that, obviously, and legislating human behavior has never worked, and of course only creates a black market, which enriches the people, for the most part, well, not the drug dealers, of course, at a local level, but the Mexican cartels. There's a story on the 420times.com. Mexican cartels are shooting weed over the border with catapults. They've dug tunnels. They'll shove it up people's asses, the drugs. They'll do anything they can to get the money from the prohibition-inflated prices in this country. It is crazy. And now of course, the internet is our last place to say what we think, and they're going to take that. This story continues. In effect, the new law would route around many of the protections in the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, including the safe harbor provisions. A number of law professors have said that they believe the proposed legislation would be unconstitutional because it is a restraint on freedom of speech. Really? Really? Does anybody give a shit? They violate the Constitution every day. These checkpoints are a violation of the Fourth Amendment. This medical marijuana crackdown in California is a violation of the 10th Amendment. They're overriding state law to shut these people down. They're going to people's cars at these checkpoints and saying, "Can I search your car?" What are you going to say? Well, you got to say no. It'd be a good idea to have a camera with you, because you never know what's going to happen. But they already got drug-sniffing dogs there, which is a gross violation of the Fourth Amendment. You could have 10 pounds of cocaine in your trunk. They have no right to search you. But they will anyway. They'll give some pretext, "Oh, well, we have the rights under the, I get the England Ass Rape You Act of 1978. So get out of your car, bitch, while I rip your floorboards out and see if you got a dime bag of weed." No. No, you cannot search my car. No. Will I step out of the car? No, I will not. Why are you asking me to step out of the car? Am I under arrest? Do I need a lawyer? May I go? Am I free to go? More after this. Welcome back to Pothead Punditry on the Stoner Jesus Show. Do you feel any safer? Let me ask you that question. Do you feel any safer living in this country? Do you feel that our enemies are at bay and that they have been defeated? Or do you feel like your enemies are right above you? You don't feel any safer. Nobody does. Because we know that no matter what happens here, it's probably not going to work out in the end. Or at least it's going to get worse before it gets better. Look at what's happened in Egypt and Libya. You think what they had there before was bad. This Hosni Mubarak dickhead and this Muammar Gaddafi, they were pussies. They were pussies. These motherfuckers will slaughter you to the last man, and they will say it's because of Allah. Allah, la, 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 la. Religion and ideology, the two most deadly things on this fucking planet. Chris Top said the government is out of hand. Big government equals bad news. See, that is, and everybody in the chat room is saying how they're agreeing. Why wouldn't they agree? Who can disagree? Who can disagree with what's in front of us? What we're looking at? You see these motherfuckers on YouTube. That Scott Olsen dude. He fights for our country in Iraq for some bullshit because the military-industrial complex needs perpetual war. That's why we're pulling our troops out of Iraq into Kuwait in case we, of course, quote-unquote, need to attack Iran or maybe Syria. Anyway, speaking of this, let me go find this. I've been talking so much, I haven't found this story yet. Oh yeah, we talked about this, I think, before. Federally funded streetlights capable of recording conversations. We'll check that out real quick before we get to the Predator taser drones. This is from Infowars.com by Paul Joseph Watson. Federally funded high-tech streetlights now being installed in American cities are not only set to aid the Department of Homeland Security in making security announcements, quote-unquote, and acting as talking surveillance cameras, they're also capable of recording conversations, bringing the potential privacy threat posed by IntelliStreets to a whole new level. In the days after we first brought attention, Infowars.com did, to the privacy concerns surrounding the new streetlights, with our story featured prominently on the Drudge Report website, the company behind them, illuminating concepts, went on the defensive, issuing a press release claiming the devices didn't represent a Big Brother intrusion. How the fuck did they not? Anyway, however, as you can see from the video above, and you can find the video on Infowars.com, IntelliStreets is Big Brother on steroids. George Orwell himself would probably have considered the concept too far-fetched to appear in the dystopian classic. Is that how you saw that? I've never seen that word before in my life. Dystopian classic, 1984. Anyway, not only can the streetlights, now being rolled out in Detroit, Chicago, and Pittsburgh, with Department of Energy backing, act as surveillance cameras, Minority Report-style advertising hubs, and Homeland Security alert systems, they are also, quote, capable of recording conversations, reports ABC7. In their press release, the company behind the streetlights also denied that they had received DHS funding for the system. In the aftermath of the controversy generated last week, ABC7 reports that owner Ron Harwood is now working with Homeland Security to implement the high-tech network, which is connected via a ubiquitous Wi-Fi system. Harwood told the Detroit Free Press that the streetlights will make us not only feel safer, there it is again, but happier. Really? Representing how business and governments can work together for economic, environmental, and social benefits. Really? First of all, do you feel safer? I asked that before, and I didn't even know I was going to read that story. Anyway, I got to find the one about the shooting people with the drones. Let me check my time here. Almost 15 minutes. Sweet. Man, you would know this is not easy to find. You know I didn't do enough prep work. Oh, man. Yeah. Stories about Syria on here. Big system monitor Twitter for signs of social unrest. Federal agency concerned about riots breaking out in the United States. Well, I'll read that one if I can't find the I can't find the one about the drones. Where did I see that? I can't remember where I saw it. Damn it. Let me go back here. I know this is a very interesting radio, but you know what? Sometimes, and I've said this before, sometimes there's bigger things at stake. Yeah, there's a story about Tennessee, Chris Topp's home state. The Tennessee joining the Transportation Safety Administration, there's that word again, in creating random checkpoints. Yeah, random checkpoints. Not drunk driving checkpoints. Not, if you have a towel on your head, we're going to pull you out of your car and shove this baton up your ass. No, random. You know what? This is pissing me off now that I can't find this. I'm going to search. I got to use the search, man. I normally don't use the search on websites. I see it as a sign of weakness. But I'm going to check it out. Here we go. This is from Activist Post. And, actually, this isn't even the one either. God damn it. It's about the ones in Afghanistan. I want the story about the drones here, using them for the Department of Homeland Security. And why I can't find that, I don't know. Another story about the internet crackdown. Maybe we'll do that one, because I can't find this one. Anyway, if you want to check Google, you can. Maybe you'll be better at finding it than I am. It's about the Department of Homeland Security and Predator drones and the taser kind that they can use. No, that's about England. Damn it, man. This is not working out well at all. Things have really hit the skids as far as this stuff goes. Back to the search. Why is this not in... Oh, man. Yeah, there's Halloween checkpoints in Tennessee. Here we go. Man, it's because it's not about... Anyway, it's under DHS's giant army of domestic control. Whoops, lost page. There we go. Oh, it's a video. I wanted to read it. God. This has hit the skids, to say the least. This is pretty fucking bad. What was the other story I was going to read? If we couldn't find that one? The Twitter one. Yes. So we're big on Twitter. We're big on the Twitter with kids. But this is also by Paul Joseph Watson for Infowars.com. The wave of civil unrest that has swept the globe over the past year has prompted the Department of Homeland Security to step up its monitoring of Twitter and other social networks in a bid to preempt any sign of social dislocation within the United States. Department of Homeland Security Undersecretary Karen Wagner said the use of such technology in uprisings that started in December in Tunisia shocked some officials into attention and prompted questions of whether the U.S. needs to do a better job of monitoring domestic social networking activity, reports the Associated Press. Wagner announced that the federal agency would implement new guidelines that would focus on gleaning information from sites such as Twitter and Facebook for law enforcement purposes. Under the new framework, when the department receives information about a potential threat, it will then ask its contractors to look for relevant search references using open source information. Although it's somewhat naive to think that Homeland Security wasn't already scanning the likes of Facebook and Twitter for social trends and signs of civil unrest, the fact that it's now being announced publicly illustrates the increasing concern that riots, which have hit the Middle East and Europe over the last 18 months, will soon manifest themselves inside the United States. And we're really already seeing it, aren't we? So what the Occupy movement is the beginning of full-scale fucking riots. People don't have jobs. Prices are fucking skyrocketing. Wages aren't. They're pissed off. And that's when they start throwing shit through windows and taking what they want. And what are you going to do about it? Big Brother or whatever, if you're fucking listening to me, you probably are. Listen to this, bitch. Fuck you. I will say what the fuck I want to say until the day I die. And if you piss people off enough to where they start fucking rioting, what are you going to do? Shoot them with rubber bullets? You can shoot them with real bullets. There's too many of them. Have you noticed the population numbers of this world yet? Things have exploded. We gained 1 billion people in the last 14 years. You can't stop it. What, there's 700 million people on Facebook? There's, like, last I saw, over 200 million on Twitter. I'm sure they're watching me. My name comes up in the Google News search for all kinds of marijuana legalization articles. Fucking watch me. I'm talking about you. The article continues. Indeed, U.S. law enforcement bodies are already scanning Twitter and Facebook for signs of unrest. Having lost a specialized unit to focus on gleaning clues from social media websites, the NYPD Disorder Control Unit recently brought together police from all 5 of the city's boroughs to rehearse what the response would be should out-of-control riots break out here. Social networking websites like Facebook and Twitter came in for harsh condemnation following the UK riots, with Prime Minister David Cameron advocating authorities have the power to shut down access during times of public disorder, mimicking the communist Chinese system of internet censorship, which is used to curtail political protests. Although the Occupy Wall Street movement has been the only real expression of civil unrest in the United States thus far, a worsening economic climate almost guarantees the prospect of an increase in social disorder across the globe. The International Labour Organization, a prominent UN agency, warned yesterday that the world faces an imminent dramatic downturn in employment and a new recession, which in turn would lead to greater social unrest, particularly in European countries. In preparation for potential riots inside the United States, the U.S. Army's War College Strategic Institute issued a report in November 2008 entitled Known Unknowns, Unconventional Strategic Shocks in Defense Strategy Development. The report lays out the strategy for how authorities would respond to purposeful domestic resistance, wherein U.S. troops would be deployed domestically to counter civil unrest, another violation of the Constitution. The report was issued weeks after the onset of the 2008 financial crisis and included a potential economic collapse as one of the scenarios under which troops would be used inside the U.S. to restore order. Let me go check the chat room. Christoph, Taylor, Matthew, Broder, Lorraine. Everybody's still there. What they're talking about, I don't know, because I have been ranting, as I am known to do towards the end of the show. And then we put it all together and put it on YouTube for people to watch. It's been Pothead Punditry. And I don't do this every show, unless it's a special show. Because even though there's time for comedy, people need to hear this. I'm sure a lot of people would agree. And if you don't, I really don't give a shit. Like I said, they're coming after me. They're coming after my show. They're coming after my livelihood. Not only by going after medical marijuana advertising and dispensaries in California with the whole internet censorship bullshit. In the midst of this economic downturn, they are attacking my livelihood directly. And I'm not going to put up with that shit. I mean, goddamn. What the fuck happened to this country? Wasn't it so long ago that things we were okay? We were number one, USA number one, blah 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 blah. What the fuck happened to all that? We're not number one anymore. That's sure as shit. I don't know. This is all I can do. I can write, as I do most of the time. I can get on the radio and rant about this shit and put it on YouTube, and you all can share it or whatnot and get the word out. But in the end, what the fuck are you going to do? I don't know. There's times I want to say I'm fed up and fuck it, but this is not that time. And there can't be a time like that. Because there's nowhere anymore you can hide that they're not going to find you. Like I said before, years ago, I didn't believe in conspiracy theories and all that bullshit. And I've read literally thousands of fucking books. And it's all through history. The shit that happened was going back in the 60s, and before that, conspiracies, that's what this world is based on. And they count on you saying, oh shit, that doesn't exist. Really? These motherfuckers meet. The Bilderberger group, they meet every year. A bunch of rich motherfuckers, they get together and decide the fate of the world. They're not hiding this shit. There's cameras as the big, long, black limousines, the big fucking procession pulls up to whatever mansion they're at. So they can decide our fate and what they're going to do. They're going to censor our internet because they don't like what we're saying. Well, I don't like what they're saying. I don't like what they're doing. What are they going to do about it? They're going to try to silence us. They're going to do it whatever way they can. I don't give a fuck anymore. I mean, obviously I give a fuck about myself, about my family, my friends. I give a fuck about the people who all they're doing is going out and protesting what their government's doing. Whoever you believe in, God, whatever, the flag, you have a right in this country, according to the Constitution, which is supposedly the law of the land, to protest your government. You're allowed a freedom of speech. There's a reason they made it the first fucking amendment. Not so I can say fuck on the radio, but so somebody like Scott Olson can go protest in Oakland without getting a flash grenade thrown in his goddamn face. Unarmed. Iraqi military vet put his life on the line for some bullshit fucking war to feed the perpetual fucking war machine in this country. Then why can't it be you? What's to prevent them? Let's say you're walking down the street of your local town with a weed shirt on. You got a weed leaf on it. What's to take a cop from what's to stop a cop from tasing you? You're promoting drugs and whatnot. What's to prevent him from shooting you with a rubber bullet in the face? What are you going to do about it? Sue him? They don't care. We're running out of time. I could talk about this shit all night, and I will talk about it again in the next show, and the show after that, and the show after that, until the end of the line. whenever that is. Chris Top, Taylor, Lorraine, Matthew were all hanging in the chat room through the end. And you all listen on podcasts on Spreaker. If you're listening on standardjesus.net, if you're listening to this on YouTube, you need to know this shit. Spread the word. Not just because we have a silly radio show, because there's real shit going down. Scott Olson, people like him, they're real people. You know, a lot of the protesters or whatnot, as we wrap this up, they want to blame either the corporations or the government or one or the other. It's both. They both had their boot on our fucking throat. And as the corporations, because they have the money, own the government. But they use government power. The government has the power, whoever has the money. The government has the army and these apparatuses that are watching us through street lights and having random checkpoints. But the corporations can buy who they want to buy. Anyway, thanks everybody later for listening to the Stoner Jesus Show.